Hi, everyone, and welcome to the At Peace Parents live show here on YouTube and Facebook. I'm excited to be here with all of you, and we have a parent who will be joining us. So, welcome.
Hi there.
Hi, Megan. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Can you tell us where you're tuning in from today?
I live in England.
Very good. Are you feeling ready to chat about your question?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, as ready as you'll ever be, right?
Yes.
Very good. Well, I have your question here printed out. Is it okay if I read it?
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Okay, great. How to cope when my 8-year-old PDAer is shouting at me and my 5-year-old daughter constantly, attempting to control all our behavior. Walking younger sister to her school, she controls how we walk down the road, who goes first, who holds which hand, who speaks, whether we play a game like I Spy, etc. I feel so dysregulated, and it takes all my effort not to get cross with her, and I don't always manage it. I know in my head she's doing this because she's trying to calm her nervous system, but she transfers it to me. We have no other option sometimes when it's just me at home. She has to come on the school run with us. This is just one example. I feel totally trapped sometimes and honestly don't know how to help her. We have little signs for do you want a hug? Do you want to fidget? As I understand, speaking to her can heighten her anxiety further. Okay, is there anything you would like to add or provide context on with your question, Megan?
Yeah, I mean, that's just sort of like one example. Just sort of like in general, she's my PDA. She's very quick to explode. She's dysregulated, like quite a lot of the time. When she's dysregulated, it's like she shouts, she's very vocal, and she, obviously, like I said, she tries to take control of everything, and yeah.
Yeah, that's very common. She sounds like she's an externalized PDAer. So
Definitely.
um, how just to help me get oriented, can you tell me how long you've known she was PDA and how long you've been sort of parenting her differently? Or if you've always been sort of approaching her through an autonomy and nervous system lens?
Yeah, I mean, we're quite a neurospicy household. I'm autistic ADHD. My husband is also neurodivergent. So I've sort of noticed little differences from her from when she was about 6 months old and thought, okay, you're probably autistic. And then when we were, sort of going through COVID with the lockdown and everything, we sought some extra support. And one of those people mentioned, oh, she looks a bit like someone else I know who had PDA, and I'd never heard of it till that point. So she was probably about 3 at that time.
Okay.
So we got her probably diagnosed when she was 5. So yeah, we sort of she was at school, and then she's been home educated the last 2 years because school was too difficult for her. She always came back very, very dysregulated. So yeah, we have tried to lower demands as much as we can, but it's not always easy when, for example, things like her sibling has to go to school and I can't leave her at home. She's 8 years old. She has to come with us. So yeah.
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 That makes a lot of sense. So just one more question before we dive in. So it sounds like you made a big decision to unenroll her from school 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that you've been sort of practicing a lot of accommodations since then and even before. Would you say So the behavior we're describing here is that nervous system activation and equalizing behavior, as you know, which is like exerting control around a safe, trying to be above a safe or another quote weak person, which can often be the sibling. So I think of equalizing as like automatic or autonomically driven behavior from the perception of either being below in the moment or the accumulation over time of perception of being below or not having autonomy. So the equalizing is like the first step before they can escalate into like full-blown fight, flight, or big, meltdown, screaming, those types of things. So my question is, since you pulled her from school and have been really lowering demands, would you say the overall nervous system activation has improved, stayed the same, or gotten worse?
I'd say probably stayed the same. It really comes like up and down, depending on what's going on. So, like when it like gets close to Christmas or like special events, things like that, it can go up, and it can be like weeks before that it starts going up, and then it kind of takes weeks to go down. So it's always kind of going up and down. And like we've just had the summer holidays here, and things are different because her sibling's been at home for 6 weeks, so that's been really challenging for her, I think, and she hasn't had as much one-to-one time with me. So it's hard to call it, really. I would say like her mental health has been a lot better, because she had really, really low self-esteem when she was in school, and just really, she kind of lost interest in everything, whereas like these days, like she's much more imaginative and creative. So it's definitely helped her in that regard. I think it's more difficult to say if it's helped with her sort of, she's still so quick to become dysregulated, or like at least a display.
Right into that red part of the brain, right? Into the cerebral. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that makes a lot of sense. So you are probably at a point right now after the school holidays and both kids where it's at a higher level even than other times. Okay. So I want to drill down into just 3 words, your first 3 words in your question, and then pick which direction we want to go with it, because I can interpret how we can move the needle in two different ways. So how to cope, right? How to cope when this is going on. So one way I could interpret that is like, given that this is happening and, I've made my decision how to deal with it, I need to understand how to manage and sort of live with this as part of our day-to-day life, because, this is what it is. Which is one direction we can go in. The other direction is more around this implicit question that often people have behind a question like this, which is like, do I set a boundary around this equalizing behavior towards the sibling, or do I not? Like, how do I manage this? Which is something we can explore together, or we could do a little bit of both. So it's totally up to you how you want to take this question.
I think like a bit of both would be good, but maybe more on like the boundary side, because what like concerns me as well is the effect on the younger sibling, and like she puts up with, it's probably the wrong words to use, but she puts up with a lot, and it's really difficult for her, and she's young and she doesn't really understand why is my sister being like this to me. And how it's like I want to meet both their needs, and I don't know how to when they both need and want different things. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a case of conflicting access needs, right, in the moment. So I think the bigger picture answer to the question of how can I meet both their needs, I think we can as parents. It just can't happen necessarily in the same moment, right? Because we have that trade-off.
Yeah.
So why don't we take this scenario of like walking into the school or like the journey from home with both kids into the school and back, and think about your decisions around boundaries with equalizing towards the 5-year-old. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share our cost-benefit decision-making framework. Are you familiar with this?
I just saw it on one of your other live shows before, but that's it.
Awesome.
Kind of thing.
We're going to do it together. Okay, let me see how I can share this. Or we'll have our host share it for me. Okay, very good. All right. Sorry. All right, so you can see this okay. All right, so the very first thing we do when we're trying to think through these rock and a hard place scenarios that parents like us have to face constantly is we want to list out relevant constraints in your life that would be things we can't change in the moment you're walking your 8-year-old and your 5-year-old into school, right? So these could be things like, my partner works out of town full time, so it's just me who has to take the girls to school. Or, my PDA child is 8, so I can't leave her at home. Or no family around. I have childhood trauma. You mentioned that you're autistic and ADHD, so a constraint might be I have a sensitive nervous system of my own. So why don't we just outline those constraints together before we dive into the decision making?
Yeah.
So let me write down the first one, which is like PDA child is 8 and can't be home alone.
Yeah.
Okay. 5-year-old is going to school. What else would you say would be a constraint? Do you work? Does your partner work? What is that?
Yeah, so my husband's working, so he leaves at like 6:30 in the morning. So it's just me doing the morning routine.
Anything else like particular to your nervous system or childhood trauma or anything else you want to mention here?
Yeah, so just like I have a lot of auditory sensitivity with being autistic. So like even when she's happy, she's still really loud. She's just naturally got a loud voice. And then when she's shouting and like it's really stressful for me. Yeah. Stressful for anyone hearing their child shout, but an extra helping of difficult for me.
Oh, I really identify with that. It's like all the, the screen in the background, the excitement, the sensory seeking, when there was a lot of dysregulation, screaming, hissing, growling, it definitely sets off my nervous system as well. So good to know. Anything else before we move on to step 2?
I don't think particularly. Like I have thought about other options. Like I do have a car, so we could go in the car. But to be honest, that's equally as stressful trying to get them in the car. And then, so we've kind of decided that walking is the best. They could go on their bikes, they could go on their scooters, but that doesn't always end well, just in terms of I worry about them being safe, and some of the pavements are really narrow, close to busy roads. So just like I would mostly say that walking is like to me it's the best of a bad bunch of options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so walking is what we're doing. Very good. And with constraints, we can always go through this methodology and revisit the constraints. Some we can make different decisions about over the like bigger picture long term. Others we can't. Like you have auditory sensitivity.
Yeah.
You know, that is a variable that won't change. Okay. You feel comfortable with step 1?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So step 2 is we take the worry, right? Like my younger child is constantly being controlled, and what will that do to her self-esteem? And am I making the right decision? Or what do I do about siblings? And we reframe it, which we've already done somewhat, and you did a really nice job of in your question, which is like a specific scenario where we can explore specific decisions, right? So the scenario is the walk to school in the morning, and I imagine back in the afternoon, correct?
Yeah.
So I would love to just lay out with no judgment at all and all the options we can think of, what are the actual options that we have during this walk? So you actually mentioned some of them, although I don't know if they would address the equalizing issue. They're just different ideas. So option 1 is, you know, we could bike, we could scooter, we could use the car, etc. Option 2, which I think is kind of, can you tell me what the status quo is now? So option 2 is that you walk to school, and when there is equalizing, how do you address it now, if at all?
It's a really fine balance. Sometimes I just don't say anything, because a lot of the time then when I try and wade in with my, well, that's not very fair, you know, let's let younger sibling play that game of I Spy, because actually right now younger sibling is desperate for a wee and wants to get to school quickly, so we can't just walk as slow as possible. But sometimes it's not saying anything. So like this morning, sometimes things work, like it's that novelty, isn't it? So I said, oh, you know, let's do some races. So PDAer had my phone with the stopwatch on and was setting races for me. And that was enough to kind of divert her, and we managed to pretty much get to school okay. So it's sort of like that novelty. And yeah, like sometimes I do just say, no, you can't do that. You need to let her be able to do that, which obviously doesn't really help her, but then it does help the younger one. So it's like that trade-off sometimes. And I think that's where I then feel a bit stuck, because it seems like anything I say, it doesn't help. It doesn't help the PDAer anyway. So like diversion is a novelty sort of thing. Or the best thing is when we see someone on the walk that she likes to chat to, and that's just like amazing, but I can't orchestrate that, you know.
Okay, so right now you're doing a mix of not saying anything, introducing novelty, which is a great accommodation, not a boundary, it's just an accommodation. So not saying anything, introducing novelty, or hoping for novelty with another kid walking, and then sometimes trying to teach or rationalize, and then sometimes saying like, no, we have to do this.
Mhm.
Does she then do it, or does she start equalizing and react more?
A bit of both. I think she sort of knows sometimes when she's pushed me too far, when I'm like, right, we're having silence now, nobody's talking.
Yeah.
'Cause that's another big one, is whose turn it is to speak. And she just wants to talk all the time, and then the younger one doesn't get a chance. So then I'm like, okay, let's give this one the turn. And then she's like, oh, but now I've forgotten what I was going to say, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So sometimes you are directing the PDAer's behavior,
Mhm.
which sometimes works. Like sometimes there's compliance and
Mhm.
there would still be activation. Like
Yeah.
neuroceptively, she'd still be like, loss of autonomy, mom's above me,
Yeah.
activation, but she might still comply.
Yeah. But it's not her wanting to comply. I get it's like a sticking plaster, isn't it? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like she will equalize in the compliance, right? Like, yes, I'll walk, but I will drag my feet and go as slow as I possibly can and
Yeah.
fall over maybe and like have to walk as a little doggy, which slows things down. Yes. So equalizing still happens, but there is some compliance. Okay. So why don't we break this down even further? Because it sounds like, you know, for you, it's not going to work to have a strategy of like, my strategy is I never set any boundaries, or my strategy is I never say anything, or I always introduce novelty and have another kid. Like those things aren't necessarily going to be, how would I say it, like homogenous over the walk.
Mhm.
Like it's
Yeah.
not always going to be the same response. So maybe we can break it down even further into like when X happens, I don't say anything, but when Y happens, I do set a
Mhm.
boundary so that we
Mhm.
can have more of a like mom feels that she's being mindful and confident and in control when she's walking down that path. Like, you know what you're going to do, even if it's going to be hard,
Mm.
rather than like, I'm setting out on this walk and I just don't know exactly what I'll need to come up with, which can lead to a lot of anxiety. So it's more like doesn't necessarily get rid of the activation, but you have a plan and
Mhm.
like, steps you can take and you'll know when. How does that feel?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, let's break it down even further. So, currently, when is it that you set a boundary? Do you have a particular flag for like, this is not okay for the health and safety of my 5-year-old?
Mhm. Um, it's really hard to like pinpoint things.
Let me ask it another way.
Yeah.
Are there forms of equalizing that you're more okay with and that impact your other daughter less?
Um, I don't know. Um,
The other possibility is that how you respond in the moment has more to do with like how much time you have. Like, are there certain things that are triggering responses that you aren't necessarily like that are more reactive rather than like the planned out, I'm going.
yeah. So like I think like when we're running late, because yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know if it maybe goes on the constraints, but like time management for myself with ADHD is quite tricky. So
Okay.
then like then if we're running late, I think like a lot of how I react to them is very dependent on maybe more how I'm feeling. and like how our morning's been so far. Like, has it been quite a calm morning with like the girls getting ready, or has it been quite stressful? Like maybe that dictates, you know, or how tired I am. Like, have I got an inspiration for doing something novel? I think a lot of how I'm like managing the situation is dependent on me rather than dependent on the PDAer. I think it's almost maybe like when PDAer sort of tips a balance with like she's not letting the 5-year-old speak at all, or she's insisting that she can't walk on this side of me, she has to walk on that side of me. And it's sort of like when all these little things just mount up, and then I'm like, no, like younger one is going to walk on this side because actually that's the safest side for her. You know how they always say, you know, younger one walk, you know, on the inside, you know, away from the busy cars kind of thing. And she, thankfully, the PDA has a lot of road sense, so she's not silly near roads or anything, so she's safe to walk on the outside.
Okay. That's a boundary that you set of like,
yeah,
your child is going to be further away from the road, regardless.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
I don't always enforce it, but that's what I would like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go a level deeper than this cost benefit for a second. And just let me ask you if, from your perspective as a mother, like you have to be the one to maneuver through this. How long is your walk?
Well,
how long should the walk be, and how long does it
take? we should be able to do it in about 15 minutes.
Okay.
You know, it can take like 20-25 minutes, even longer sometimes, if PDAer is absolutely not moving. Like, yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like you are getting everyone to school. Like that's not the issue. They get there. It's just an excruciating experience along the way for you and somewhat for the younger sibling.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's not a nice way. Like, I'm not going to see you now for 6 hours. And we've just had a really stressful walk to school. And it's like, it's kind of like that expectation, isn't it? Like, you think, oh, that'd be nice walk to school, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't turn out that way.
Yeah. Okay, let's put this cost benefit away for a second and just talk. Because I'll share a story about this. Because I think it's like a little bit deeper. Because it sounds like you do set boundaries when you need to, but it's more reactive rather than responsive to like, this is what I do in this situation. And it might be hard and there might be activation, but this is what I'm choosing based on what makes sense for my family's collective nervous system, right? So my younger son, William, we unenrolled him for his first grade year, which was starting 2 weeks ago, because he's been in burnout since last June. And even though I think about this stuff all the time and I'm steeped in it, and I supported my older son through burnout and we still accommodate him, I still had and have expectations and desires for the way things will look, right? So super flexible summer, but then school starts. And even though we're, quote, unschooling, I have these ideas about, okay, you can be on your screen for 12 hours or 10, but you need to get outside and go to the apple orchard with me, right? Because that is healthy and that feels good. And I want that to happen to offset whatever anxiety I have about those other 10 hours, right? And so, like parents have to go through, it's inquiry and self-awareness of like, is the apple orchard really important to this situation? Like, is he going to learn more and be better in his body and his nervous system at the apple orchard versus on his like really cozy blanket with food delivered and building worlds in Minecraft? The answer is probably not the apple orchard. And B, like, why am I attached to the apple orchard?
Mhm.
Right? Is it necessary?
Mhm.
So the way I see this as analogous to your situation is like you have these constraints, right?
Mhm.
You have a PDAer who's 8. You have a 5-year-old who has to get to school. You have decided to walk because it's less hard than scooters, bikes, or cars. You have a husband who's not there in the morning to do it. And at this point, you don't have anyone else who can likely manage to accommodate and produce novelty and be flexible with your 8-year-old to help the walk to school, unless we hired someone to help the 5-year-old. So for that half hour,
Mhm.
how we kind of want to let go of the apple orchard part is just like, I just have to execute this in a way that makes everyone safe.
Mhm.
And start to let go of like, this is a nice walk and other families do this and this is what should happen on the walk and this is how it should feel. Like, it's going to suck, right? Like, and that's okay, because your goal is like, get my kids safely to school and return.
Mhm.
And then within that context, identify places where we can tweak the sibling dynamic of like, okay, what will actually impact the 5-year-old sense of self? And there
Mhm.
we might want to tweak boundaries. But is there a part of this that's an apple orchard that we could explore for you?
Mm.
Like the attach.
Yeah, I think maybe in a way, because I'm like, no one else's kids are screaming at them. Like, what am I doing wrong here?
You're
Like,
doing everything right, and
yeah,
still you have a PDA child who is losing some
yeah,
autonomy on the way to school with her sibling.
yeah. I feel like that's, yeah. And I think it's like that, I don't know, that, that sort of that feeling of grief or loss that your child isn't like most other children, and actually she's not going to school,
Mhm.
or at least not at this school. She is actually just starting now at like a specialist independent school, which is lovely,
Yeah,
which she's really excited about. But yeah, it's not how I thought it was going to be, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I think for, like, I totally get this, and, like, I'm glad we're talking today because I'm 2 weeks into the school year, and my older PDAer is, back at his private school, and he loves it, and, like, playing tackle football and, like, out of the house, and then I have my 6-year-old who used to love school
Mhm.
sitting in the other room right now on a
Mhm.
screen with his dad next to him, actually his grandma, because dad's helping with the show, and all this stuff is coming up for me again 5 years later,
Mhm.
right? And granted, I'm moving through it more quickly because I have practice, but, like, I've never worked with a family that didn't have to move through some grief
Mhm.
about, like, all the other kids can do X and all the other families can do Y, and I can't do either, even when my children are doing well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you are an extraordinary mother. Like, the walk for you, it's like a gauntlet, right? Like, your executive functioning is taxed, your nervous system is taxed. You're like, okay, I have to think 5 steps ahead because if she doesn't move to the other side or wants to, walk slowly, how am I going to introduce novelty, you know, in the next 3 minutes? Like, it's an exhausting gauntlet of
Yeah.
experience, and naming that as what it is, I think is the first step to allowing yourself to be stressed and not like it and let go that there's any joy that should be had in that.
Yeah.
right? And the joy with your family is going to happen in moments that aren't that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think the second part of the like, how do I cope? So, like, how do we actually operationalize acceptance in the moment of like, I'm on the walk, I'm sort of half waving to the other families, but thinking they think I'm weird because my kids are all over the place. Or, maybe I want to socialize, but I really can't because I need to be vigilant to the state of the nervous system of my kid. Like, how does one cope with that? Does that feel like you want to explore that a little bit? Like how to actually have a practice that might help?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing I want to say is that no methodology or tool or wisdom that I have will make this cost benefit of like, if I set a boundary here, this person, the PDAer gets activated, or if I allow the PDAer to control the 5-year-old, then the 5-year-old has an experience of being controlled. Like there is no strategy in the moment to make that go away. It's just a decision between two shitty options. So first I want you to hear that, to know that like you're not doing anything wrong either way. It's just a really hard situation that has to happen to get your 5-year-old to school. Hey.
Yeah.
Let me just pause. How does that land?
Yeah. 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 Because it's like in my head, I want to try and equalize the situation and be like, well, yeah, if the 5-year-old wants to play I Spy with me, why can't she? The PDA will just have to lump it, and me and the PDA get all the walk home to do whatever PDA wants to do. We don't have the time pressure, we can do whatever she likes. So that's like, but yeah.
Yeah, and either choice would be right. Like you could say, this is from my perspective, I need to set a boundary around this equity piece. On the walk, I am going to tolerate and allow the dysregulation and the walk taking longer because I'm setting this boundary. Or I can say, what's most important here is that everyone gets safely to school. The dysregulation upsets the 5-year-old too. So I'm going to, in this moment, allow an inequity and more I Spy for the 8-year-old. And like that trade-off sucks. Like, like nobody else understands that except for a parent of a PDAer.
Yeah.
But you're not doing anything wrong because you have that trade-off. You have that trade-off because your child is PDA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
It's just like, the repercussions are so much greater with a PDAer than just for a neurotypical child, isn't it? Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
And so we can not like that, but still accept that like this is what it is. One of the things I do for myself and the families we work with is to, in the moment of when we see the dysregulation or the inequity or the worry about the future of your 5-year-old daughter, you can put your hand to your heart, or if that would activate your 8-year-old, do something more subtle. Anchor, like looking at a tree bark or looking at like the leaves rustling behind them. Anchor yourself and just think or say, this belongs as part of our human experience. Like this chaos and this dysregulation, this belongs. Like nothing is wrong and you haven't done anything wrong. So what would it feel like to practice that on your walk?
Yeah. I think that would be good, isn't it? Just kind of trying to accept the situation and just hear from you that I'm not doing anything wrong, and that there isn't like a a beautiful, wonderful option where we're going to walk to school without distress, you know. Yeah.
And if we really want no distress, like we'd have to re-examine the constraints.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you, Megan, within the constraints, in this present moment with where your 8-year-old is, there is no guru or expert or magic bullet that has some strategy that will make it different, including
Yeah.
Now, I hope that that's both freeing. Like, often when parents hear that, it's like activating to them or upsetting to them to hear it, but it's also deeply freeing over the long term.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to just be present with, this is what it is. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm making decisions within constraints. And nothing more or less needs to happen. It doesn't need to be the apple orchard or a pleasant walk. We are just keeping our family healthy and safe.
Yeah.
And even if nobody else outside of your experience understands that, like, you know it. That's what's important, that you know that you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And there's no wrong, there's no wrong answer here. It would be, you can also change your mind, right? Like, you could experiment with, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to experiment with allowing some more autonomy for my PDAer to have more I spy turns or talk more. Or you could experiment with, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to preemptively decide I want it to be 50-50. And then observe how you feel and how that goes. And then you can change your mind again, right? I think where it can be distressing to a parent, myself included, is like when we go into it and then those decisions are reactive in the moment and then we feel bad about ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like having a bit of a game plan kind of thing.
Yeah. So as I said those ideas, did either of those sound appealing, or did both sound like, I don't want to do either of those?
I think like maybe more give the PDA more autonomy, and see how that goes.
Do you want to pick a time frame just to like rest your nervous system in knowing that it's not forever? It's just a chance to observe.
Yeah. I think like maybe 2 weeks, like you say, that's a good amount of time to try.
Is there something you want to keep track of? Like maybe you could check in with yourself after the walk and just on a scale of 1 to 5, like, how you doing? Or it could be just jotting a note like, okay, took 15 minutes or took 30 minutes. And then you can sort of have a sense of like how it's going with the experiment.
Yeah. Yeah. I could keep some notes.
Yeah. If it overwhelms you, don't do it. But I think that when parents are stuck making a decision to try something different or commit to what they're doing, and help free up some energy around the like spinning your wheels and beating yourself up and being like, there must be something else that I'm not thinking of.
Yeah.
Which is exhausting.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add or ask me questions about within that topic?
I don't think so.
Okay. Let's experiment with that as like the next right step for your walk to school.
Yeah.
And,
Sounds
if you feel like it, I'd love for you to email me in a couple weeks and tell me how it went.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Have a good weekend and happy Friday.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Casey.
Thank you, Megan. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, everyone. Thank you for being here for our live show, and I will see you again next week. Bye, everyone.